Hello and welcome to this special episode of the Lifestream.net's podcast about Final Fantasy XIV. We're hoping to make this into a series. I'm joined by Lex.
Hello.
Force.
Hello.
And Ave.
Hello.
So we're going to talk today about the post-Stormblood storyline, the 24-man raids, the Savage Trials, and dungeon content. So we're going to start with the stories, and let's start with Lex.
So this would require me to remember what happened in the story. I remember what was most recent in 4.3. Does anybody remember 4.1 and 4.2? Like, what is the point of... So Stormblood ended with the defeat of Big Dragon Shinryu, and then some shit went down that I don't remember.
Oh yeah, and Lise assumed command of the Garavanya and all that.
Who did?
Lise, formerly Ida.
Lise. Right, cool. And they've been doing what?
Trying to rebuild, right?
So they're trying to rebuild in Garavanya, which was like a big major point. But at some point, like the only bits of the story I actually remember, like post Stormblood's conclusion, and point 1, point 2, and point 3 are the Eastern stuff, all the stuff that's happened in Kugane, etc.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah, that's been the whole thing with Kosetsu coming back with Yotsuya, but she lost her memory. But was that only 4.3? How long when did that come up?
4.1 is when you find that Gogetsu is still alive and you're searching for him.
Right.
And often advise that the sword and spends all the money.
Oh, right.
Oh, yeah.
And his sister's all pissed off at him.
For good reason. And Robin gets kicked out of the syndicate at the end of 4.1.
I always think it's interesting whenever the story makes like you're gonna have to pay something, but then you never do. Like when with that sword, for instance, it happens a couple other times. So like, well, your character can pay for it. Yeah, I could. Am I actually going to have to?
And then they do, and nothing actually happens.
Right,
Mm-hmm.
whether you say you're going to do it or not.
The guy that they find that can find Gogetsu is that merchant guy from Stormblood that was trying to rip you off or something.
Oh yeah.
So what was it that happened in Stormblood again? The Gosetsu and Yotsuyu were battling is it in Doma Castle, and then it collapses on them.
Yes.
It's supposed to be imminently about to collapse, and then you spend like a minute saying goodbye to Gogetsu, and then you leave and it falls. And like I think it's in the stinger that you can see them that they're on an island.
Yeah, he's cooking a fish or something.
Because it looked like she had died by gunshot, I believe.
No, she shot him.
Oh, she shot him?
And Lord Heian slashed her, I thought.
Okay. And then she was alive, and that's dumb. But whatever.
Yeah, the story is kind of a lot of people are really into 14 for the story, and the story is great, but I don't pay that much attention to it. I'll say that was different for 4.3. 4.3 story was phenomenal, and like every now and again it really does grab my attention.
Mm-hmm.
Normally towards the end of patch cycles.
Right.
Like I've seen people complain online that in Heavensward you have people actually dying, whereas in Stormblood you have people that were supposed to die in situations that they should stay dead and then they come back.
Mm-hmm.
Who died in Heavensward besides your knight friend?
Horsefant.
Yeah, I knew it was something French.
Horsefant.
Yeah, all the voice actors always go full French.
That girl that thought that she was like Shiva.
Oh right.
Oh yeah,
Lady
Isael. Yeah.
Isael, yeah. When did like Urianja's girlfriend, she died? When was that?
Oh yeah,
was that...
Moonbrita.
Moonbrita.
No, that was 2.5.
Okay. Yeah, I feel like we haven't had a lot of deaths lately.
Yeah, a lot of almost dead.
And Papalino died at 3.5.
Oh yeah.
Mm.
And then that title, everyone got a title that spoiled that.
Yeah.
People were freaking out.
What was it called again? The original, because they changed it. It was like Papalimo's Final Witness or something.
Yeah. What is it now?
I don't know. They changed it. It was they did change it. I can't remember what they changed it to because I think I've got titles turned off now. But
okay.
Yeah, that was interesting how Ilberd just had some deep. It was still like an American accented voice, right? In the 2.x stuff, But then in Heavensward, it was, or I guess Stormblood, it was decreed that all Alamegans are Scottish now.
Did they?
Isn't he? He's something. He changed his voice, and it's a new voice actor and a new accent. I don't know if it's specifically Scottish, but something.
Canon destruction.
Well, a lot of people from like when a Realm Reborn had American accents, and then you had Heavensborn, and they all had like British accents.
Right, but French names.
Sure, that makes sense. Have you seen movies? They do that all the time.
Captain Jean-Luc Picard, anyone?
Oh my gosh.
But in terms of like, so I don't know if we can talk about specific patches because we're all a bit fuzzy on what happened when. And I don't think events that happened in 4.1 and 4.2 are particularly memorable, or at least they pale in comparison to 4.3. So maybe we should just talk about 4.3.
Yeah, so we can talk like generally because there's specific characters that have things that happen to them, particularly Gogetsu and Jotsue is her name.
Yotsuyu.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, Gosetsu is what? At some point in 4.1 or 4.2, Yotsuyu comes back with no memory. Gosetsu takes it upon himself to care for her. And they have this I think, do they refer to each other as like granddaughter? And
yeah, because it seems like her mind reverted back to being a teenager before all the awful things that happened to her. And him being old, so it kind of seemed like this grandfather and granddaughter relationship.
I've got to say, right, I think while I was playing Stormblood, I hated Yotsuyu so much.
Yeah.
Just wanted her to die, right? And I felt like I could see a trajectory where she was going to become this. She was going to be like reform and become a good character, and I didn't actually want that to happen. And then with the way the 4.x quest line progressed, I actually finally started to go, it could be kind of cool if she did that. And then they didn't go in that direction, which I was really. But I just thought that the way that they dealt with her character in 4.3 was crazy and great, because I went from hating her and wanting her to die. So technically, what I wanted to happen, spoilers, did happen. But by the time it happened, I didn't want that to happen.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was so tragic. It's probably the most tragic character storyline they've ever told in the game.
Yeah, I wondered if they just wanted to make it so that you beating the player got to kill her instead of just Lord Ian doing it. Although I never minded Ian did.
No, me neither. And I think it would have been. I think that was why I found it quite frustrating in Stormblood. Is that when they brought her back at the start of 4.1, I was like, oh, like I liked the way that ended. Do you know what I mean? I would have.
Right.
I think I would have preferred it if she had, like, at that point. I would have preferred it if he had killed her, because that was justice in a way.
Yeah.
So when they brought her back, I was like, oh god, they're stringing this along. Like,
Yeah.
do this, and then
they basically moved it all to her parents. They were incorrigible dicks.
Oh Jesus! And I feel like they've been really candid and almost graphic in a way with Yotsuyu's history and things that happened to her. Like they make allusions to what happened to her. They say like various things, but they're also quite specific in some cases. And I found it quite shocking, even when I was playing through Stormblood. And then in the most recent patch, just like how horrible her like step parents are to her.
It's surprising for me for two things. It's a teen game. It's not like a mature game.
Yeah.
And two, this is Japanese company, which are not known for handling that kind of stuff very well.
Yeah, and I think that obviously she has a really tragic story, and then they just, it's horrible what happens in 4.3. In my opinion, I think it's so horrible, but it's a really well told story for a change. I've got to say, because it is really tragic and it's actually quite soul destroying that she doesn't reform in the end. Do you know what I mean? That she forms this caring relationship with Gosetsu, who is done in as a warrior and can't really fight anymore, and is looking for that kind of family bond with somebody, and finds it in Yotsuyu, and then she's once again kind of abused by her family and turns into this crazy monster again because she's so deep in the despair that she doesn't have anywhere else to go. It's horrible. It's so horrible, but it's also like really well done.
I think like at the end when she fights like the warrior of light, she feels like she's not deserving of redemption. So I think she just in a way committing suicide because she knows there's no way she's going to survive that battle.
Mm-hmm.
She just wants to die. And I think like before, like she like her parents when she got her memories back that she ran to her parents, she was planning to commit suicide.
That's right. And I think there's some I like the political storyline as well that was going on where, you know, an emissary of the Empire is coming and it happens to be Yotsuyu's brother and
Oh yeah.
all the shit that he does to cause the scenario that happens to happen where, you know,
he puts all the aetherite crystals there so that she can change.
Yeah.
It's like the Empire always going on about how primals are the reason they're attacking, causing primals.
Yeah, it's really twisted and really dastardly. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I always wondered why Asahi chose to reveal his evilness to you when he does. When they're all on the beach ready to go back to the Empire or whatever.
Oh yeah.
And he says nice goodbyes to everyone, and then he turns to the Warrior of Light and just like goes all evil faced.
Yeah. Like,
Yeah,
do you not think that I'm going to say anything to my buddies? You think I'm just gonna hide the fact that you're an evil son of a bitch? Like, what? Yeah, that felt really strange to me.
Yeah, and you know how powerful they always make you feel in the story. I was like, can I just kill him now?
Yeah, like, I'm pretty sure I could just end you.
But I know then the Empire would have an excuse to invade.
yeah, the political stuff in that particular storyline was interesting to me because it's like you do expect a fight, but at the same time you're like they can't fight because it would endanger this, you know, treaty that they've got going on right now and all that stuff.
Right.
Mhm.
And it's good they let you see Kian be a political leader instead of just a fighting one.
Right.
For sure.
There was one thing that bothered me is like they find the guy that her parents sold them to, that brothel. And his excuse is, "Oh, I realized that she shouldn't be here, but like she can make me money, so I was gonna do it anyways." And they kind of just let him go because that was a different person back then.
I don't remember him.
I'm struggling to.
He's one of the soldiers that Adoma, and he just abandoned his. They don't know where he went, and they go looking for him, and he's so scared, and he tells them, "Oh yeah, it was that guy." And his explanation is complete bullshit.
Yeah, I remember that now.
I think the most tragic moment is actually in the gameplay, and it's when you're fighting Tsukuyomi, which is the primal that Yotsuyu turns into with the aetherite.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously in the middle of the fight, you guys will have done this.
Yeah.
All the different horrible aspects of our life play out in front of the player, and like with dialogue and everything. And towards the end, it's an ad phase in the fight, and then towards the end of it, Gosetsu jumps out and to protect her, and it's actually really heartbreaking when you watch it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was really well done.
I'm glad Asahi died too. Dick.
Yeah. Do you guys feel after playing that do you feel maybe she should have survived and should have had like an actual redemption arc after going through all that and seeing all that she went through? Do you think like it should have like you feel the way it ended was it should have been like that?
Well, as I said before, I wanted her to survive. So when I watched this, I was so disappointed when she turned into a primal. I was so because I knew that was the end for her character because you can't really come back from that. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I knew when she turned into a primal, I knew that was going to be the end of her storyline, and I was like really, really disappointed. But I thought if she is going to go out now, and as I say, I wanted her to die before. Do you know what I mean? But they changed my mind as the patches went on, specifically in 4.3. If her character was going to go out, that was a really cool way to do it.
Yeah, I was satisfied by it. Actually, I was satisfied by that being her end. The way, like I said, the way the primal was done, like that with that middle section where you see all of the horrible manifestations of her past, and like you're fighting against them and trying to get through to her, and then Gosetsu's like the manifestation of Gosetsu coming in. I don't know. It was almost like a beyond. Like there's no point beyond this. No one can help her. even Gosetsu like tried his best
Yeah.
and did everything that he could, and there's just nothing to be done. It's just, well,
It's unfair, and I think that's why it's so. I think that's why it's good, is because it is so unfair. Because she's never been shown any kindness. She's only experienced horror and abuse from everybody in her life. And until Gosetsu, and she only experienced that when she didn't have any of her memories and she wasn't really her true self. So that's what's so tragic about it. So it's a very, very tragic story, and I mean, it would certainly been a happier ending, if she had reformed a bit. But how would she even have done that? Do you know what I mean? After all that,
Yeah.
I mean, that's the kind of dialogue that she spouts out herself. She just says, "I'm too corrupted at this point."
Yeah, I guess that's what disappoints me, that she dies thinking that she's not worthy of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see why that's like really sad and horrible and everything, but it's still, I don't know. I thought it was good storytelling.
It sucks. It really sucks that that's the case, but that's the point.
It's life.
Yeah, that's the point.
People feel that way.
It's horrible and terrible and unfair, but I think that's the point of the way they told the story, is that there's nothing good about it. There really isn't anything good about it. She was used her entire life, and she died being used, and it's awful. It's really, really awful, but it's also well done.
And how they also pretty well made the point that even if she had reformed, she basically couldn't stay in, like, the public had endured too many horrors by her. I know they had like the little kid willing to, like, when she runs out into that town,
yeah,
everyone freaks out. So even if she reformed, she'd had to at least either be sheltered or just move somewhere else.
It actually makes quite a strong philosophical point, which is not something that FF14 really does. A lot of its storytelling is, some of it can be quite complicated, but it's normally obvious or on the nose. But it's like with that little kid running out and saying, leave it alone, or whatever it was they said. It's about innocence, and it's the contrast between her not having any and the kindness that the innocent strangers can show somebody that she is incapable of doing without her memories. With her memories, I mean.
So there's two other characters that I wanted to talk about. One is Thanos, who's back, showed up.
Yeah, how?
And the other one is the Shadow Hunter, who's probably Gaius.
Are there any theories on that? We don't know if that is actually Xenos.
So apparently he's that ancient Asian. That's the one in the white cloak that is not La Habrea.
That's right, because they go to the grave.
Right, they exhume the body, right?
Right.
So the Asian's probably taken over his body, because they kind of directly say that at one point. Like, they allude to that.
I find it funny because I frequently forget that those characters are a thing, the Asians. It's like, oh, remember them? They're still. Like,
they haven't really made an appearance in a while.
They are the end game.
Yeah.
I think because they're behind everything, really. So they'll be. I don't know what the next expansion will be. It could potentially be Garlemald.
I assume that's what it's going to be, but yeah, I don't.
Right, since Alphinaud's going there. Then...
The Asian storyline, I think, is definitely going to be like, that's always been Endgame, because it's been planned from the beginning. And they show up everywhere. Every now and again, they pop in.
Yeah.
If they are taking over Xenos' body, that's what I like about that, is that it's, for once, that means we did something that they didn't want. Because the games oftentimes are always like, well, yes, we were planning for that. So at least they made it so something we did inconvenience them, at least.
They had to go get his body,
right.
And they had to...
You know what I mean?
Unless that was their plan all along.
Yeah, right.
Maybe. Maybe they wanted to take over his body.
So Xenos is apparently controlling the body of like some random soldier too. So how that happened, I have no idea.
What?
Like,
say again?
Xenos is controlling some other person's body. I don't understand how that happened, but like someone is controlling his body and he's controlling someone else's body.
I don't remember that part.
Wait,
Who's he controlling?
I know that they have like flashes to, when all the political chat's going on, they have flashes to Xenos, and then they're like, oh my god, Xenos is alive, it can't be so, and then they go and investigate it and they're like, his body's not there. And that's why Alphinaud decides to go, is it not, to Garlemald to investigate it? But when you go and like check out the gravesite and stuff, his body's not there. I feel like they've not brought Xenos back from the dead. There'd be no reason to do that. Do you know what I mean? The whole of Stormblood was about killing Xenos, really.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And they heavily imply that the Ascians are involved, and there's also there's a throwaway line at some point where they're like, "Oh, there's rumors that Ascians can reanimate dead bodies." So it's like it's pretty obvious that that's
What's happening?
the Xenos that's in Garlemald.
Yeah.
Right. And like, I mean, he wasn't dead, but
Okay.
way back when they took over Thancred's body.
Mm-hmm.
Xenos is controlling an Alamigan resistant fighter via demonic possession.
Okay, so maybe it's like Ascian. It'll be Ascian Xenos doing that, not Xenos.
Who knows?
I don't remember that bit.
Yeah, I didn't know he was
I don't
controlling
really remember that either.
Maybe you get answers in the next patch.
When is the next patch?
It is in about 2 weeks or less. Let me check.
Yeah, it's coming
I
out
thought
soon.
it was close.
There's no official date, but they've followed a pretty strict schedule since, the beginning of A Realm Reborn, really, but they've been really set dates for it. Oh, September 11th is is supposed to be the patch date. It's not been officially announced, but if they follow the schedule they have been following since Stormblood, it will be.
Nice.
Gotcha.
So the other one is the Shadow Hunter. Do you think that is in fact Gaius?
I didn't pick up on that when I was playing the cutscene, but I've heard that since from other people.
I only saw that cutscene maybe 30, 40 minutes ago, so no, I have not even had the opportunity to consider that might be Gaius. I did not think of that. I have not heard any of the theories. Fill me in.
Everyone thinks it's Gaius. I don't know
Really?
why. I didn't make that connection when I watched it.
Yeah, I don't know where everyone got the idea, but that seems just to be the foregone conclusion.
It is 2 reasons. He has a gunblade that apparently is Hairsbane, which is Gaius' blade, and he has the mask of the Ascians that he's slain. He also has the face blade of Gaius' helmet. So that's why people...
Did Gaius kill a lot of Ascians? I didn't remember that. But now he's killing Ascians. He wasn't before, right?
The dude does look like Gaius. As somebody's done comparisons and the weapon, and there's a few reasons it could be him. And
oh yeah, I'm looking at the weapon now, and okay.
But the people who are very, very knowledgeable about 14's lore, all as soon as they saw that guy went, "Oh my god, Gaius! I knew you were alive." Like I didn't do that. I just was like, "Oh look, it's one of these guys with a dot on his head."
Right, just he's imperial or whatever species of human that is, just tall and with a dot in his head.
Right.
Although Sid isn't all that tall.
I guess the logic here being that you never actually saw him die.
The hanging Ascian masks off him is a really cool effect. Image.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how's he killing them all? The only one we've killed is the one that Brita died killing, right? Is that the only one we've decisively killed? Or did we kill the other guy too at the end of Heaven's Word? I don't remember.
At this point, I'm not going to assume that any of them are dead, because maybe they'll find a way to bring them back in for some. They'll find some explanation. We know that for sure Papalino is very dead. He's not coming back. And,
I find myself not giving a shit.
Right. I had forgotten all about that too.
I didn't really care about Papalino. It sounds bad.
At least it's so different from Ida anyway, somehow. So, like, that part of their relationship would probably be different, I would think.
Can you guys, I don't know if you guys can clear this up for me. Lise was Ida's sister?
Yes.
Younger sister.
Was Ida ever alive in our playthrough of A Realm Reborn?
No.
I don't think so.
She died, I think, apparently between 1 point and 0, whatever that was called.
Right, okay. 1.0, okay. Because I wondered that. See, when she was like, by the way, I'm actually Ida's sister, I was like, okay, so when did Ida die? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. How long have you been Ida's sister?
That always confused me, so yeah.
And, it doesn't really mean anything to us because none of us have ever played, that I know, the original Final Fantasy.
Yeah. And we never will. Because it doesn't exist anymore.
Yep, the most I've seen of it is from that no-clip documentary on YouTube.
Okay, that's so good. I've watched that a couple of times.
It is really good. Well, I think Kotaku interviewed the localizer guy. I can't remember his name, Christopher or something. And it reminded me of that. He just does 14 all the time. Like I want to talk to all their localizers like that. That must be so interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Moving now to the 24-man raids, and Sherlock's has a lot to talk about like this kind of thing.
The 24-mans. To be honest, I don't have a lot to say. It's 12 themed. I love some 12/tactics themed. I love some 12. The 4.1 raid was Rabinabber, which is what people call it. Rabinaster, and it's got that cool section with the Garum Scythe waterway. And the 4.3 raid is Ridorana, and that looks really cool as well. They work in some tactics bosses and some 12 bosses and some 12 boss music and some tactics boss music, and it looks pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
Don't really have much more to add. I think, in general, the difficulty of them is a bit better than it was in Heavensward, because in Heavensward it was either far too easy or a bit too complex for most people to handle.
Mm-hmm. Wiping City.
Yeah. So, whereas like both the 24-man raids so far have been pretty good in terms of like balanced difficulty, but I'm not a massive fan of either of them, to be honest. I just can't be bothered with it.
I really, really liked Rabinaster. On my server, they call it Rabinasty, which I liked. I think Ridorana is a little harder.
Yep.
Overall, which makes sense. I mean, it's progression content.
Because you have to do maths.
Actually, the first boss sucks so bad. The very first one, the water guy.
Yeah, I hate that boss. That is the worst boss of that entire raid. I can't.
What one is that? Is that Mateus?
Mateus is the one in Rabinaster, I think, isn't it? That's the first one, because he's ice, but the second one's water. Who is it?
It's one of the Espers from 12.
It is an Esper, yeah.
Is it Zeromus?
No, it's Famfrit, the dark Famfrit, however you would say that.
It's Famfrit, not Fire?
No, Fire is Belius.
Oh, see, I'm getting so mixed up with them.
Yeah, it's Famfrit, Belius, or Belius, Construct 7.
Right. Yeah, that first boss, no.
But yeah, Belius is fine with the clocks and the dashing.
Yeah, that one's okay.
I actually like the Constructs.
Yeah, I like that fight a lot. I don't mind doing math. It's very simple. The very first week it came out, everyone had a lot of trouble with that one, wiping and everything. But since then, I've mostly seen wipes on Famfrit, the first one, still, because it's just there's I don't know. It's a lot that seems like
it's hard to see everything, and that
the
big water wave doesn't have a mark on the ground. You just have to watch it, so that makes sense.
Right, and it can go like he turns and you don't know which way he's turning necessarily, and that's annoying.
He's the one with the big pot, and he holds the big pot on top of his head and shoots out water.
I don't like that mechanic.
It's okay when you realize you can look at which way the pot's pointing, but he does randomly turn in a direction, and if you're not paying attention at the split second that he lifts out the pot, you might think you're on the right side and you're not. That's actually killed me a couple of times as well.
Yeah.
I, as a huge tactics head, Rabinaster is much more tactics heavy than Ridorana. Ridorana is much more FF12 heavy.
I kind of wish with the music, I wish they'd updated the tactics themes a bit more.
My God, yeah, they just pulled them out. It's just the same. They didn't do anything to them.
I know, they just used the original.
Because all the 6 music or 5 music all got rearranged.
Sometimes in the game, it's okay for them to do that. Like in the Ultros fight in Realm Reborn, with the quest line, they used the original FF6, but it suited the fight because it was a kind of ridiculous quest line.
Right.
And that was the point of it, is like, oh guys, look, it's Ultros here, have some FF6 nostalgia music, and it was cool. But they just lifted the tracks out of tactics, and it sounds like, I mean, it just feels weird, I think, to have that PS1 music playing over this brand new raid.
Yeah, I was not a fan of that decision in particular. And like, I love tactics music. I think it's really good. And I think it could have been really, really nice had they just reorchestrated it at all, even just a little bit.
And it was weird when they had that vote you could do online to vote for your favorite FF14 tracks, and it had all those tactics tracks on it. So, but these are just tactics. Like it's not even rearranged.
My opinion may be slightly biased by the fact that like people think they're special by winning Trisection at the end of the raid, and then they put it on the FC Orchestrion, and it just does my head in every time I go in the house and I have to change it.
I love Trisection.
I know, but it's constantly playing when I go into the free company house. I'm like, no, enough.
So, do you guys have any stories regarding your Savage Trials?
I haven't done any of the Savages.
Yeah, I'm trying to get him to, but he just won't.
Vec's done a lot.
Yeah, I love them. I really enjoy the challenge of the fight, like learning the fights. I love learning them like you learn a dance, and you just
Yes.
it's so satisfying when you clear one for the first time, and oh god, feels so good, man. The first time because I didn't really do much of any of the Savage content in like during A Realm Reborn or the one after that. Why can't I think Heaven's Word? Yeah. Yeah, I don't think I even ran any of the Alexander Savage stuff until having done like 01 through 03S.
Oh, really? So you didn't touch Alexander until you'd done like first tier of Savage and Stormblood?
Yeah, just because I didn't have anyone to run with, and I didn't, it wasn't really that appealing to me at the time, I guess. And then once the Savage content came out, 01S, I don't know, I went into a pug group. They were so helpful and so good and like taught me the fight. We learned it. We got through it. It felt really, really nice. I then ended up helping what ended up becoming my current static clear 01 and 02 because I had cleared them pretty quickly with just pug group and they just could not get them down right. And so I randomly happened to get in with them, helped them clear those two fights in relatively short order, I think. Well, the first one was short order. The second one, they still struggled with. Oh, God. We had a bard who would constantly jump in and then end up cleaving everybody. Like he would use a gap closer or something at the wrong time, not be in his position, and just wipe the raid all the time. But
there's always one.
Yeah.
I've raided all throughout playing 14, to be honest, because we all started in the beta, didn't we? Except Carly, she came in a bit later. I played through Coil with a static, so I played through Coil 1 to 5, and then I didn't touch second Coil for a while, and then I played through the second Coil while it was still current. And then I remember I took a break from the game, and when I came back, it was like a few months before Heavensward, and I cleared Final Coil as well, but that wasn't with a static. So I had a static for the first and second tiers of Coil, 2 separate statics. And then in Heavensward, I didn't raid at all. I just played normal because I found myself that I wasn't really fussed about doing the Savage content. Occasionally, I think towards the end of the patch, I farmed one of them for light. I think one of the easiest Savage raids in Heavensward was a 9. Was like the one that everyone farmed for light for the relic weapon. So I remember doing that, but I didn't make a conscious effort to do any more of Savage in Heavensward. And then in Stormblood, I joined the static again for the first tier and loved it so much.
Yeah.
Had a great time. I didn't actually have a static for the second tier, which is out now, and the third tier is coming very soon. I didn't actually have a static, but I've cleared 6, 7, and 5, 6, and 7. I've cleared already.
Yeah, same.
I've not tried 8 yet, but it would be really nice to get that down before the next tier releases because I want to join another static.
I'm really hoping to get a clear of 8 before the next tier comes out, but I do enjoy my static, but I don't know if they're going to be able to clear it by the time the next tier comes out, not gonna lie. We didn't finish the last tier. We didn't even finish
3.
Yeah.
3 was a very, very, very difficult fight, Halicarnassus, but it's also my favourite fight in this entire game because it's so precise and so mechanically strict, but so rewarding and satisfying to do properly.
Right. Yeah, when you get it.
The first time we cleared that, it was like, I remember our static, we used to raid on a Tuesday and a Wednesday for like 3 hours each day. And we cleared 1 on the first night. And that was obviously like the first day it released. And then we cleared 2, I think, the following week. And then we were on 3 for like 4 or 5 weeks before we cleared it. The time that we knew we'd gotten all the mechanics down, and we were just like, it's just about, pushing DPS or whatever. And then we got to this stage where on the Wednesday night, it was like we were about to finish at like 10 o'clock, and we were like, do you guys want to just keep going? And we just kept going and going and going. And I think it was like midnight before, like, we got the clear at like 5 past midnight here. And I was like,
wow.
it was so satisfying. It was screaming on the
Yeah.
mic. It's like, yes!
Yeah, I can imagine.
It's that tense. Like, the most satisfying thing I think about Savage is how tense it gets. Like, when everyone, because everyone kind of goofs around a bit. If you're in a fairly casual static, everyone's kind of like has a laugh and stuff, and maybe makes mistakes because they're chatting and not really paying attention as much
Yep.
attention as they should be. And then you get to a point where, when you know you're getting close to killing it, everybody just goes completely silent and they're focusing, and all you hear is like the call outs, like shark or whatever, like every now and again, and it gets so tense, and then you finally kill it, and it's like, oh my god, that's the best bit of Savage.
It really is.
Do you guys think the third tier is going to be FF7 themed?
Obviously, I hope so, but I don't know, because everyone is basically saying they're not going to put in 7 content unless the game is like dying.
Keep that carrot dangling.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it would be Sephiroth, because the final one is going to be Omega itself, I think. But like but they could do like other little smaller, like, I don't know, Materia Keeper and Carry Armor or something.
Well,
Genova.
this was something, Genova, yeah. This was something we were talking about, because somebody was like, nah, they won't do 7. Like, what bosses would they pick? And I was like, if it was me, if it was my choice, if there wasn't already a Demon's Gate equivalent in a dungeon in this game, I'd probably do Demon's Gate, Materia Keeper. And then I don't know what I'd do for the other 2, but probably Genova and Sephiroth.
Yeah, Sephiroth's Carry Armor was always a hard one in 7, so that
Mhm.
can happen. Schizo, he's just a 2-headed dragon, so I guess that's not that remarkable.
Kind of looks like Hydra. It's in there already.
Right, and they've already done Guard Scorpion, so
Yeah, it could be Materia Keeper, Carry Armor, because they're quite 7 distinctive, I would say.
right.
And then it could be, Genova and Sephiroth. But again, everyone is saying, the last one's going to be Omega. But they could really pull it out of the box and do, 5 raids for the end.
Oh,
Mm.
yeah, that's true.
Because they're doing Ultimate now as well. So the next Ultimate could be Omega. If the next raid tier is 7, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay.
I really like how, since Heaven's Word, those because with the introduction of Savage content, they made it so that everyone can do the full raids, though, and still see them.
Yes.
Yeah.
I haven't seen very many of the Bahamut, because I never did them. I did Twintania, but I didn't do any of the others.
That's right. We did do that one. That was fun.
I was discussing Coil Savage the other day with someone who joined about 8 months ago.
Mm-hmm.
And they're really up to date on the raiding, but they were like, "Oh, I've not even done Coil Normal," and I was like, "Well, Coil Normal is Savage," and they were like, "But you said there's a Coil Savage," and I was like, "There is a Coil Savage." And like I was trying to explain it, I was like, in Heaven's Word, they introduced like the normal raids, and the fights are maybe a step above what you would get a boss fight in a dungeon. They're maybe closer to what you would see in a trial, but they're maybe a step above like a normal trial even. But they are just they're easy content essentially. And the Savage version is what Coil was when it was introduced, and they did that because the Coil contained some essential story really, and it was relegated to content that only the best of players could at the time actually see.
Mm-hmm.
And that's actually one of those things that's kind of difficult. And they were like, "Oh, why is there a Savage Coil then?" And it's like, well, Savage Coil is actually only the second, like, more difficult version of the second tier of Coil, and all you get from it is titles.
Yeah, that's
I
fun.
didn't know that, actually.
Yeah, there's a title for each. So Savage Coil is like just second Coil. So the final boss is Nail, turn 9, except a very, very difficult version. And even though it's already a very difficult
I hate
fight,
that fight already.
I love that fight. The only thing I hate about that fight is that people, for some reason, just don't understand the concept of don't put the meteors too close to each other, don't let the golems go near each other, like.
Yeah.
And then it gets more complicated later on with Thunder Out and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're gonna hide in that hole on the side.
Mm-hmm. But that's a fantastic fight, man. I remember the first time I cleared that as well.
So how has been the new dungeon content for you guys?
I like Swallow's Compass. I think it's interesting.
What one's that again?
That's the one where you start out, you're running through the hallways that like get locked down or something, or that has a like, big like rainbow things.
Oh, and then you go around in a circle and go in the big door.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really disappointed with the way they've done the dungeons in Stormblood, because in A Realm Reborn you get 3 dungeons per patch, In Heavensward, what did you get in Heavensward? Was it still 3 or was it 2?
Oh god, I don't.
I think it might have been 2.
It may have been 2. And then in Stormblood, they've done 1 in odd number patches and 2 in even numbered patches.
Mm-hmm.
Which means if you, at least at the very start, like when Stormblood released, it was a very, very boring cycle of always getting the same dungeon. And there's always been that, if you're doing expert roulette, there's always been that, degree of I'm going to get the same dungeon over and over and over again. But expert roulette always consisted of 3 dungeons.
Yeah, I got Swallow's Compass a lot.
I just feel like...
Or not that one, Hell's Lid. Hell's Lid is what I meant, sorry.
They said they were introducing like different types of content, and that's partly why. And one of those different types of content is Eureka.
Mm.
And it's a bit like... It's a bit like if you're going to put all that resource into creating what is essentially maybe the worst content they've ever done.
You certainly sounded like it when I heard you playing it.
You're going to take it away from the dungeons, which are like they feel like an essential core part of the game. Do you know what I mean? And it's like you're now only releasing 1 on some patches, which is shocking to me.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of Eureka.
I haven't done it simply because everyone says it's awful.
It's just so, I don't know, it's grindy, and I have patience for grind way more than you do, but it's just, I don't know, it just doesn't feel rewarding at all.
It's boring is what it is.
Yeah.
It's very, very, very boring, and it's like I would take the Atma grind over this, and I know that's like sacrilege to a lot of people, but I did the Atma grind when it was current, and it was something like a 0.05% drop rate. And I would take that again, to be honest, over this, because Animos, there's this thing called the Fate Train, and you just jump in and you join like a group of people, and from a social standpoint, that can be okay. It can make it bearable, it can make it tolerable.
Mm-hmm.
When they released Pagos, they were like, nah, you're not going to do that, because that wasn't the intended way for the content to be run. And you have like a separate elemental level, and you can only really fight monsters that are like your level, slightly above or below. You only get experience for monsters. I think the monsters can be a maximum of 2 levels under you. If you're in a group of 8 people, you can basically take on monsters that are 5 or 6 levels above the group. But it really discourages you from playing with other people who are... If someone is basically 3 levels higher than you, they can't help you. Because if they kill the enemy, you won't get experience for it.
That's...
It discourages cooperation, which is how the Fate Train was born, where it's basically like everybody does it because everybody gets raids, everybody gets, some reward for the beating of the notorious monsters and the Fates. So that's how Animos ended up running, and when they released Pagos, they put in measures to basically stop people from doing that. So they drastically reduced the experience you get from notorious monsters.
Oh my god, no.
They increased it from the mob chains, so you're supposed to chain like normal enemies up to 30, and you get like a bonus every 10, and it's just soul destroying. It's absolutely soul destroying to do it.
Yeah, that sounds awful.
They just patched it on Tuesday there. They literally patched it and like tripled the experience the notorious monsters give you and lessened the number of enemies you need to kill to trigger them. So the Fate Train is back. But when Pagos came out like just under 3 weeks ago, which added elemental levels 20 to 35, it was just dire. And that's how you get your relic weapon. I don't know what they're thinking. I don't know why they thought it was a good idea.
No, I'm not gonna do that. I'm just not.
Nah.
I don't care.
I'd rather clear Kefka and get my 375 weapon.
I'd much rather do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think that forces even any like you to try Eureka now. He was before.
Nope.
Wait, is Kefka a 375 weapon, or do you get 375 from Ultima?
37 is both. 375 is from both. The ultimate raid is basically just for a glamour weapon.
Oh, okay.
It's the same level as like clearing the highest tier of Savage.
Okay, I didn't realize that. I thought Kefka was only 370.
Guys, people are calling the latest ultimate raid Uwu.
Yeah.
I love that.
I like it too.
Because it's Ultima Weapon Ultimate Uwu.
I haven't been in. I'm curious. I want to try it, but...
Oh, same.
It sounds like what Ubisoft does to their special editions for their games.
Yeah, right.
No one has anything else they want to talk about.
Savage is fab. Give us more dungeons.
Yeah.
Give us less Eureka. I just like
Oh,
quickly
yeah.
rant about how like Eureka is terrible. They need to do more to get people playing in the open world areas that are in this game because they're all fucking dead. People are either queuing in South Gridania, South Shroud.
South Shroud, yeah.
South Gridania. People are either queuing in South Shroud to go into Palace of the Dead, or they're queuing
Yeah,
in
Mare Mail.
to go into Heaven on High, or they're queuing in Kugani to go into Eureka because you have to do it for your relic weapon. So there's literally no incentive for players to go running around and do all the fates and stuff that are in areas. None.
Right. Like I'm leveling my bard right now, and yeah, it's dead zones. I just go out, I take my chocobo, and I try and do the ones where you can slowly pick off one thing at a time.
Yeah.
Because there's not enough people to take on like the ones, like the boss ones that give mad experience.
Mm-hmm. I still remember the days where you fake grinded in Carthus and Northern Fanland. Like,
oh god, yeah.
I'm not saying bring that back, but I'm saying there should be an incentive for players to run around in all the areas of the game because like why are they pouring all this resource into making content that everyone accepts is terrible? Even the people who like it from a social aspect, because it can get funny if you've got hundreds of players in there and they're running around and having a good time, do you know what I mean? Like randomly, socially with each other. That's not how the content was intended to be run. It was intended for you to chain 30 enemies that take forever to die and over and over and over again for you to level up. It's just ridiculous. So even the people who are like, oh, Eureka's not that bad, absolutely accept that it's terrible, terrible content.
Yeah. Yep, pretty much that.
Okay, thank you for joining us. We're the Lifestream.net, and we'll see you when the next patch rolls around. Bye.
Can't wait.
Music featured on this podcast is courtesy of Incompetech.com.